Did you miss me? We're back at Disneyland.
Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and today.
Here we are in fantastic, wonderful Frontierland. It almost reminds me of where I just was, because I just spent 4 days in the lovely Las Vegas sun. It's definitely not my cup of tea. I prefer Disneyland. I did win $100 though, so congratulations to me, ching ching. Anyway, there's no place more fitting than Frontierland to talk about America. After all, Disneyland itself is a symbol of the triumph of the golden age of the American free enterprise system. It's no surprise then that Disneyland, as this symbol, almost caused a mega international incident in the history of the Cold War. Now, in the 1950s, America was engaged in an epic struggle. An epic struggle against communism. Communism? Yes. World War II was over, but the Cold War was getting frosty. Joseph Stalin had recently passed away and left his empire in the hands of Nikita Khrushchev, who famously said he would bury the West and crush capitalism.
What do you want to do today, boss?
We will crush capitalism, yes.
Things between the United States and Soviet Russia were obviously not so great. So it shocked the world in 1959 when it was announced that the Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev would come to the United States to meet with President Dwight David Eisenhower.
What you doing, boy? I'm fixing to kick it with the Soviet Premier.
On their arrival on the East Coast, Khrushchev and his wife Nina did what anybody else would do in the 1950s. They expressed a desire to come out to the West Coast and visit California to see Hollywood. Hollywood, with bums and drunks and stuff in Hollywood. This was mind-blowing stuff. You guys gotta remember, we were in the midst of the Red Scare. Red commies. It was decided to give old bald Khrushchev a tour of the Hollywood studio. And during his tour, to throw a banquet in his honor, a star-studded, celebrity-attended banquet. Now, some celebrities, like Disneyland opening day announcer and future President of the United States Ronald Reagan, simply refused to participate in a protest. But for the most part, every other celebrity in Hollywood was jumping at the chance to be seen dining with the Soviet premier. It was the event of the season.
Not Howard Hughes, though. He was already crazy by then.
Khrushchev particularly wanted to see Marilyn Monroe, who had to be told who Khrushchev was. Ooh. Since she didn't read the newspaper, and as far as we can tell, anything else. Sorry, Marilyn. Love ya. During the meal, there was a lot of friendly joshing and banter back and forth about communism, about unemployment in the United States versus Russia. A little friendly joshing. But in particular, the president of Fox Studios, Spiros Piskouras, got up and gave a rousing speech about his American success story, coming here as a Greek immigrant and eventually becoming president of a movie studio. Khrushchev really didn't like that story. He seemed a little miffed, but he was friendly. He let it go in more or less good humor. But a few minutes later, when his wife whispered to one of her companions that she desired to see Disneyland, that's when things got heavy, and Disneyland almost caused an international incident.
You communist.
Nina Khrushchev was told in no uncertain terms that they would not be allowed to go to Disneyland since their security detail would not be able to guarantee their safety. Now, maybe it was something he ate, but when word of this got around to old Khrushchev's table, he was pretty grumpy. He got up, still sort of smiling and good-natured, and said, "I would very much like to visit Disneyland, but you cannot guarantee my safety." Then he started to get a little cranky, and according to the newspapers, he said,
What is it? Is there an epidemic of cholera there? Have gangsters taken hold of the place? Your policemen are so tough, they can lead the bull by the horns. Surely they can restore order if there are gangsters there. I say, I would very much like to see Disneyland. They say, we cannot guarantee your safety. Then what must I do? Commit suicide?
One reporter even said that he fist-punched the air above his red, bald face.
Uh-oh, we've offended the commies.
Here is the man from behind the Iron Curtain, the boss, the big man, the dictator, being told he could not enjoy the wonderful sights and sounds and smells of Disneyland. Wouldn't you be cranky? But after a long, awkward silence, Khrushchev realized that it probably wasn't worth starting World War III over, and then tried to backpedal and say, well,
For me, such a situation is inconceivable. I cannot find words to explain this to my people.
sure bro, your people. Oh, I'm mad because I can't explain it to my people. Yeah right dude, we all know you wanted to ride Dumbo bro. It's cool, don't cry.
I would very much like to ride. Elephant looks like me.
Anyway, short story short, Nikita Khrushchev, the Soviet premier, was never able to visit wonderful Disneyland, and he was never able to shop at the beloved Disneyland Indian Trading Post. But we'll talk about that later. After the banquet, Skouras took Khrushchev and his wife to go watch the filming of the musical Can Can, which was not exactly appreciated by Mrs. Khrushchev,
Although old Baldy seemed to like it.
So instead of an Explorer canoe, Khrushchev and Mrs. Khrushchev hopped on the first plane back to Washington, D.C., leaving Hollywood and Disneyland behind. Of course, this gave rise to the urban legend that Walt Disney hated communists, which is actually 100% true. Walt Disney did hate communists. He blamed them for the 1941 animator strike at the Disney studios that almost destroyed his career. But contrary to popular belief, it was not Walt Disney who refused Khrushchev entry into Disneyland. It was simply a security concern. Because you know, that Mickey Mouse fella, he loves America, and he can be pretty dangerous. Woo. So there you have it, folks. The story of how Disneyland almost started a Cold War era international incident, which ended up merely being a newspaper incident, but could have been much worse. They got nukes, you know. Nukes. The communists. Don't worry. Here at Disneyland, we know how to take care of commies. By the time Khrushchev got out to DC to kick it with Eisenhower, he was pretty much over the whole deal, and the two men sat down and talked, and when he went home, Khrushchev told the Russian people that he very much liked Eisenhower, the person, and they thought they could get along. Plans were made for Eisenhower to actually come and visit the Soviet Union, but they fell through when one of our U-2 spy planes was shot down over Russia, and the Cold War got frosty all over again. Luckily, communism is mostly dead now, so unless you're a North Korean, you may come and enjoy Disneyland today in all its fine glory.
At least Kremlin is not pink.
No commies here, just ducks. Unless they're commie ducks. So come on out here, have some dockside dining, make sure to subscribe to the videos, and I will see you next week. Goodbye, comrades!